All right, welcome back, Tony. Thanks for helping me again, and thanks for doing the podcast.
Oh, this is cool. It's kind of cool. Too bad it's not classic cars we're going after. That'd be nice.
That would be cool.
But so, is it an extended cab or?
It's a regular cab.
And so it's just a basic pickup.
Yeah, very basic.
And that's what so you're going to be able to put 3 people in it tops, right?
3 people tops. At most 3 people. But I don't think 3 people will really be comfortable. Really though, what I'm trying to do. Here's what I'm trying to do. A lot of people are asking. I am trying to get a big salt spreader for the Super Duty because now I'm doing like 4 parking lots instead of 2. They're all gonna get salted after they're plowed.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I don't want to be trying to do it. I did it with a walk behind spreader. It was kind of hard. I got through it, but it's really hard. Like we had some ice storms where I had to put down like so much salt with the walk behind spreader, and then it was like clogging up and all that. I barely made it through. The big spreader is going to limit my ability to hold a snowblower, a shovel, everything. So this just needs to be able to carry a snowblower, a couple snowblowers and shovels, and
it's going to be It's going to be your salt truck.
Well, that's not a bad idea either. It could be. That's not a bad idea. I could put the spreader in this truck, and then it could be the salt truck because salt is so hard on the truck.
Very hard on the truck. It's messy and it's corrosive.
It's corrosive.
Unless you're taking it to the quarter car wash every time you get done, and all that does sometimes you get salt out, but that actually activates the salt.
I've thought about doing that. One issue with that is salt is like the most important part of the business.
Yeah,
so put it on that truck is kind of risky because it's not reliable enough for me to depend on it for salt. Like for snowblowers, if it broke down, it would be okay. But if my salt spreader is attached to it and it broke down,
yeah, you can't unattach it with a couple of clips and put it on something else.
Right. So I would do that just to save like my regular truck, but at the same time, it's not reliable enough. Plus, and I also thought like, man, if I put the salt on this truck, then I gotta plow, and then I gotta go get a different truck. It's like, I kind of gotta be ready to do all that at one time, like scrape it and salt it. Sometimes if it's bad ice, you might have to like kind of do a little salting and then scrape it in a little so it can activate it. If it's real cold, it won't do anything. And then you kind of hit it with the blade of the plow so that it activates it.
Kind of aerates the ice, so it penetrates into the ice, right? Instead of laying on the ice, it actually has a chance to penetrate through the ice.
So, I kind of, even though it sucks to put a spreader on a nice truck, I need it. Salt it's turning out to be the bigger part of the commercial snow plowing. I can probably salt my doctor's offices a few times throughout the week. And last year, I was salting those properties a couple times a week because the ice will come back.
Yeah, if it gets warmer during the day a little bit and you get sunshine, that causes a melting process. By 4 or 5 in the afternoon, it's starting to freeze over, and during the night, you got nothing but black ice, really.
Exactly.
And it needs to be applied because it's worn down because the sun's melted the little bit of salt, and that can go on for days at a time.
Yeah. So I just check my properties every morning before they open up, and a lot of times it's like the pile might melt and run down the drive or the parking lot, and they're not big enough parking lots to where you can put the snow somewhere where it won't be an issue. They're just small lots, so the snow goes to the outskirts of the lot or a certain spot in the lot, and it's going to melt and make ice.
It drains. It's like ice cream melting in a dish.
It's actually worse because when it does that, it's like somebody's going to be walking and they're going to think it's good, and it's going to be that one spot that they were not suspecting. So that's kind of like the ice that gets people. So there's those downspouts. There's one there where there's a downspout kind of by the handicap spot, so you get this handicap person come out and the whole handicap spot fills with ice. So it's like when this is happening, I'm billing for entire salting.
Yeah,
So,
it's, I used to say when I used to wash cars, there's more to washing cars than soap and water. There's
Right.
more to this. Everybody thinks, oh, I want to cut lawns. Well, the days of the pushing a Toro lawnmower with an open trailer are over with. Not only are people's lots bigger, but I think people demand more too. And no offense, everybody's lawsuit happy now. God forbid somebody falls, the first thing they're going to blame it is on the snow removal company. That, and a lot of it is, or I think 95% of it is Mother Nature. You can try to fight it the best you can, but you're always going to get something that comes up that you never expected.
yeah, I've got those last year. I don't know if you remember, those ice storms came through.
Oh, yeah, we had an awful winter last year. Remember, we had that polar vortex? And, if you start with an ice situation, it won't even alleviate itself because the salt won't activate. So,
well, if it starts raining on top of the ice, it's like it won't melt it.
it's like putting icing on a cake.
Yeah.
It's on there, and you can scrape it off, but there's always going to be some on there, and it's there, and it's going to cause an issue.
I've had to double salt lots, and then with a walk behind spreader, it's just terrible. But having this truck, and this year, first year, I don't know, it may be the last year with this truck. It's a pretty cheap truck, but I don't think I would be able to put a salt spreader just because of the pressure of salt.
So you're going to use this to put a couple of snow blowers and shovels and send two guys out on that.
Yeah.
So what happens? You get a snowstorm, or it snows 2 inches. How many vehicles do you have active to go out right now? Just one?
Yeah. Just right now, without this truck, I just have the F-250. Yeah. Now, I could use this truck that we're in now, but I don't want to put a guy in this truck. It's too new. It's too much fun.
This is a lease, right?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, no, you don't want to do that.
No, I don't.
You want them to, no offenses, if they're going to screw something up, which can happen, whether it's on purpose or for some stupidity, yes. Yes. A light breaks on it, and ding, they back into a fence post and dent the bumper.
Right.
Oh, no. You could leave it the way it is. You're not going to have backup sensors and all that. You can't. This has to be returned in somewhat new condition.
Yeah.
You can't have that. And then, no.
A big problem with this truck is it's just too much fun. Mm-hmm. It's like a race truck. It's like a race car. Mm-hmm. And I already know my guys are going to be like, let's see how fast we can go. I'm like, dude, this is not, this is not fun.
It's tough, man, when you're dealing with all that. There's so much involved in a business that...
It's like, I know for sure that will happen, and it's going to be icy and slow. I know for sure because one time where something happened to the truck, and for whatever reason I had an employee just had to drive my personal truck home, back to the house, and then he's posting videos. Oh, the truck is so fast, look at the sound, the engine. It's like, dude, you were supposed to just drive home. He's like, the turbos are whistling, and I'm like, listen, man, I can't have you in this car. Like, you're not responsible. Now, there's some guys that I would trust, but there's some guys I just wouldn't trust. They're like infatuated with the car. Like, if someone gave me their car, they gave me a cool truck, say a Chevy 6.2, whatever, something I haven't driven, I want to,
Right.
I'm not gonna do anything in your car. It's not my car. But not everybody's thinking like that. Some guys are thinking like, let's see 0 to 60. It's like,
and foul weather on top of it. They're not out on a nice day like today and driving it. Even so, it would be wrong. But
so I mean, that's the big issue. It's just I can't put a guy in this truck.
No, you no offense, you didn't lease this for that purpose. I mean,
no, I leased it for fun. I shouldn't have even leased it. It's too fancy. It's got too much. What I'm really thinking about doing is me taking over the Super Duty, driving that for my personal driving, and just getting something older for my crew. Something still nice, but maybe like $10,000. Maybe F-150, F-250, whatever. That can just be
Serve 2 rolls instead of just one.
Yeah.
When's the lease expire on this?
I got one more year. I don't know. I don't think this truck that we're looking at is nice enough to do like the whole long route because it's a regular cab.
Right. It's an old school business tradesman truck.
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, that's what people drove. You know.
Well,
So it's an 8-foot bed.
Yeah.
8-foot bed, 4-wheel drive, 3/4 ton Ford 250, 150.
And that's a good vehicle to make a lot of money because with that 8-foot bed, you can easily get 2 yards of mulch, maybe a little more, but easily 2 yards.
You're not going to put a plow on it?
No.
Okay, so that's good. 150 can handle whatever you want because you don't have to worry about taxing the suspension and all that. And not having the right setup on it.
Right.
It's 2-wheel drive, this truck?
It's a 4-wheel drive. 4-wheel drive works, everything.
Well, that's good.
It's not the most reliable engine. It's got some known issues from that year. But man, for the price,
Right.
there's nothing screaming that it's gonna blow up today. It's a little. The engine doesn't sound new. It sounds like an old engine.
And it's got, what, 250,000 miles on it?
Yeah, it's done. It's got 200,000. It's got a lot. It's got a lot of miles. I mean, we'll see. It's definitely a risk. But I don't have to worry about like when it's out, when it's going. I'm not worried about it being damaged. So
No, you just.
and also too, if this it's a gamble, but the more that I make for the less that I spend, the better.
Oh yeah.
And these winters are always risky, and sometimes it just don't snow. And I've been through having a brand new truck, brand new plow, all this stuff, and just
Man, we get hardly any snow.
get no snow.
Or it snows a half an inch. She just bought it too, car ride.
Oh, a Cartwright. That's a nice dealer. Cartwright.
Yeah, that's the new one. We'll get you in a. Yeah, I've heard all the games over the past 35 years.
Oh yeah.
But it's a feast or famine season. It's a seasonal end of a business that you don't know which way it's going to go.
Now, one thing that I did do is I converted everybody to being prepaid for residential. I know you saw the emails.
Yeah, that's kind of neat.
And it's secured about $5,000 for the year. And it really, I'm still working on it. I'm supposed to have it done by the first week of November. Sending out contracts and invoicing, but I got enough for like 5,000. And I definitely made more than that last year. But for the amount of work that's required for that 5,000, it's way less amount of work. We were doing easily $1,000 days in residential, and then sometimes the commercial was $1,000 as well, depending on if it snowed right through their opening, and then they got salt twice. That adds up big time. Now, the residential would be it's easy to build $1,000 a day residential route, but it's not easy to get it prepaid.
No, people aren't anxious to give you their money.
They don't know you.
Right.
But what I'm thinking is this: out of 30 people, a truck can do 30 if the route is set up like mine, which is not that good. A route could probably be set up better and have like 50 houses on it if they were all neighbors. But it's kind of hard to do that too because not everybody wants to service. So it's a balance. If I could get 30 more people and have them being pay per push, which is not, it's a lot of money because when you're doing it, your profit is just insane. It's great. You're over 130, you can be whatever you want per hour, but you can easily be over 130 an hour or more, or you can get to 200 an hour if you want it. I think the move is to take what I can from what I have now as far as prepaid, let the rest go, and take on 30 new prepaid people, have 40 total accounts, and then still can do what I did last year on top of the prepaid with all new people. Next year, with the people that I built the rapport with, go over to the prepaid and funnel down to those 10 people that out of the 30 would agree. Because they know you now from after a year of doing the service. Now, instead of going into next year with 10 houses prepaid, I'll be able to go into the next year with 20 houses per prepaid. And it is a more sustainable thing.
Right.
That's kind of what I might try to do. Just because it's really easy to book someone when they're paying. They don't have to put anything up front. Yeah, they'll do it, of course. You know, but just telling a stranger, hey, I need $500. They're gonna say, I don't know, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's hard to get people. It's very similar to your automobile insurance. You pay them in advance, and you hope you don't have to make a claim.
Exactly. So that would be a good way to sell it to someone. It's very similar.
It's the only thing you pay for in advance that you haven't used yet.
You pay for it in advance, and if nothing happens to you or your car, then you don't get your money back.
Right. You're paying for something that's probably you don't even want to happen.
Right. And that's what you're doing with snow. And it really is like, I'm not like ripping anybody off. Most of the people who aren't doing it, they either feel like I'm ripping them off or they just don't have the money. But the reality is, when I put a vehicle in place and pay for that vehicle and pay for that plow and do all this stuff, and it don't snow, I still did all that. I still carried all that expense.
Right.
And it's not going to work if I don't compensate for it.
Well, what about that possible collaboration with
that other company?
Lucia? Is it Lucia? Am I saying that right?
Yes, that's right.
Lucia?
Yeah, I'm going to do 2 of their properties for them. So yeah, I took on Vinyl Graphics on Harper, and there's a condo in St. Clair Shores that I'm doing. They both get salt, and I don't know. He wants to do more, but subcontracting isn't as good as just having your own stuff. So they're cool. They prepay. Both of them prepay, so it helps me out. But it's better for me just to get more houses, residentials, have my own contracts. So they're cool, but it is what it is. We'll see how it goes. I'll be using more of the plow, more of the salt spreader, but mixing it in with my accounts is going to be a good balance. So, but yeah, that went good. He wants to do more per hour, but I think it's like $100 an hour, $95 an hour or something.
You must have a lot of accounts. They've been doing that for a lot of years, haven't they?
I feel like a company like that can get the prepaid amount for the residential, because they have like a lot more authority in the marketplace. Whereas like if you're contacting me, I'm just a guy who works out of this house. I mean, even though you can't tell, because I don't have a spot like a yard like these other bigger companies like Toco or whatever.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to have that kind of authority. I don't really know how I could present. I mean, my truck's nice, but how do I present authority like a bigger company like Lucia or Toco?
It's all part of the growing pains.
Yeah.
And it could take 5 years for you to get to a level that you really are going to be part of the hit parade per se. It could take that long.
Yeah.
Starting your own business at ground level is difficult.
Yeah.
Look at the guys I work for. They didn't like to. I mean, they worked out of their house garage for a long time.
Yeah.
Before they bought another place, and they stayed there. I think around 10 years, and then they finally got to where they're at now. And they're
Where were they before?
they were on. They started out on 14 Mile Road between Groesbeck and Utica. And Al, one of the owners, still lives in the house. It was his house.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and they started the garage. They're so big right now, they can't even keep up with the demand. And we've got 3 buildings, and they've outgrown them, in my opinion. You know.
Yeah, and for people who don't know, the inline tube. If you ever look on eBay for brake lines, they're all over eBay, right?
Oh yeah.
I remember hearing a story about them when I was in college from one of my teachers, talking about how they started, and they pretty much were like mapping out vehicles' brake systems so that they could
They go to all the, they go to junkyards. They trial and effort. We're doing more new stuff now for newer cars or 20-year-old cars than we are for classics.
Well, yeah, because we're in a point where those 20-year-old vehicles are starting to have those brake line issues.
Right, they would. You're right, and that's natural. After 20 years in Michigan, you're going to rot a brake line just from time and all the corrosion from the salt and the waters. And it's just amazing to me. No offense, that 1999 through 2005, Grand Ams are that popular where we're making 300 to 400 lines, a day for them.
A day.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
That is amazing.
And they're selling out faster than, I'm repeating the process within a week. I'm making almost the same lines again.
Here's an issue.
Yeah, but what gets me is, no offense, why are all these cars still on the road after, 1995 was a long time ago.
Well, I guess when you think about it, when you look at how many are on the road, it's probably not a lot, but you're talking
right,
about...
because I don't even see... I owned one.
But you're talking about the whole country that they can sell
Yeah,
to.
exactly.
So they're very smart in the idea that they're selling a product
Right,
to the
they
entire
try to
country.
get onto a pattern that's working like right
So it's
now.
very scalable.
Jeeps are big. Dodge Durangos are big, there's just so much, and the muscle cars, of course, are big too. Everybody now does frame-off rotisserie restorations. When I started playing with low cars 35 years ago, you're lucky, getting a paint job was what you wanted to do and maybe spruce up the interior, and that was the end of it. Now you're separating the body from the frame, and you're putting it on a rotisserie rack, and no offense, the cars are, as you know, over-restored now, better than they were originally made.
Yeah.
And then you get them to a point, well, I can't drive this car no more. I've got 30, 40, 50, whatever, thousand involved in it. And then you're exceeding the value of the car. It's so darn nice that you got to hope you bought the right model that it'll appreciate a little bit. Or, you can enjoy it yourself. But so people are willing to, back in the day, there was, they used to do a frame up. You paint the car, take all the moldings off, replace it. Now you're taking the chassis apart and everything. Well, guess what? You're dealing with 30, 40, 50-year-old fuel and brake lines, an emergency brake cable. You're going to replace them. You're in so deep that you're taking the old one out anyway, and you know damn well you're going to have a problem when you reinstall it. Reinstall it, rather. You might as well put a new one in.
Must be about right now.
So to be a visionary, but getting back on track with snow removal, yeah, it's definitely a game.
Yeah. Well, working at inline too. When they ship out the lines, are they doing a shipping bin?
Yeah, depending on the size of the line, you get some lines that are 18, 20 feet long. Yeah, they'll put the shipping bin in. They also put a little sticker on it that tells you how to straighten it.
Oh, how do you straighten it?
Well, you're just going to basically reverse roll it when you get it. It'll tell you. They're in a pretty big hoop.
Are they?
Yeah, that you can tell they will not be compromised. No, you don't want to bend them over your knee to straighten it because you could kink a line.
My thing is this: when they do the shipping bin, and I've ordered brake lines before in the past. I don't know if I got them from Inline Tube or Fine Lines or who, but when you do the shipping bin, I wasn't overly thrilled with straightening out the shipping bin, and I figured, why didn't you just cut it and give me a fitting?
Right. A lot of times, I can see now we're going to a lot more jobs with union fittings on them, rather than.
They're using union fittings.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of them like the Dodge Durangos and stuff, and even some of the Grand Ams, we've changed the configuration on bending the pattern to a union fitting.
Now, when you say union fitting, are you talking about a compression fitting, or are you talking about a flared?
It's a flared end.
Oh, okay.
Let's say we use what's called a TN1 tube nut on the end, and it's going to have UO1.
So it's not a compression fitting or anything?
No, sir. No. You're right. That would be terrific if it could be, because then you're putting it on and, you know,
And just tighten it up.
pressurizing.
That's not really like a
Yeah, because you got to go by what the average person's going to have.
I would, if I could do anything, if I was in charge of any brake line company, I've ordered them before, they're all doing that shipping bin, I would get rid of the shipping bin and just put a couple fittings, man, because it's hard enough to put the whole thing in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're better off just cutting it and putting the fitting. That probably costs more, because you got to flare it and you got to do all that, but that shipping bin is so annoying. Now you're trying to put the whole thing in, which is already hard enough.
Right, you can only like, well, the fuel line. I mean, a fuel line is going to have a shipping bin, because I mean, the average length of a car anywhere from 8, 10, 11, whatever feet it is long. You know, and the box is huge. I mean, you get a fuel line from the tank to the carb. That's a long line.
Yeah, but that fitting is not bad.
Mm-hmm.
That fitting is just as good as anything else in the system. It's just a matter of, the shipping bin is going to be cheaper.
Oh, sure.
Just bend it. You don't have to flare it. You don't have to put that fitting on there. And
Right.
then it's more complicated process, way more.
You definitely got it.
Because if you're doing that flare, you got to put on the fitting first, the right way. I mean, you opening up the opportunity to put the fitting on and be backwards, and then you got to cut it off, and now it's all screwed up. So it would make the process a lot harder to get rid of the bin. But man, how annoying to pay all that money and then have to bend it. But when I did it, I don't think there was no instructions on how to do it. It was bent like whoop. I was like, man. But if you're like, well, you're saying if it's smoother, like a big curve, then
big hoop, where you really very difficult to mess it up. But yeah, you're right. When you're going to do the installation, I think that's the biggest complaint people have.
Shipping bins.
Well, I think when they're going to reinstall, there's always some tweaking that you're going to need to do a little bit. I mean,
yeah. I got Kroger water if you want some.
I'm okay. Thanks.
But yeah, business is tough. The hardest thing is the employees.
Yep.
I could have a guy, his license may get suspended, and I won't know. How will I know?
I heard something interesting yesterday from Murray Feldman on channel Fox 2, or he's like their job shop, he's kind of workforce kind of guy.
Right.
And he said companies are looking more towards somebody that they can't teach the skills to because they already have the skills, versus they know they can probably teach them the job over time, but they can't give them or teach them a personality, which would encompass politeness, greeting of people, day-to-day behavior, attendance. He says it's very hard to teach somebody that.
Yes.
And I thought about it, and I said, boy, that guy hit it right on the head. You can have the best employee, and yet he's just not a good employee. He can't really seem to come to work on time. He looks for reasons to go to break sooner. He looks for reasons to complain all the time. But he can do the job. He can make the donuts, but the whole process of making them, he just has no personality. And we have quite a few employees that fit that bill, and it's like you can't teach people the skills. You can tell when somebody's never. We got a guy working for us right now that owned a family bakery for 35 years, and he works well. He's 55 years old. He sold the business, got out of it, had their fill with it, did real well with it, and he could be at home sitting on the couch watching reruns and eating bonbons, but he comes into work. He's there every day on time. He does his job. He doesn't mind coming in at 7 because he used to get up at 3 in the morning, and he's got a personality. He'll talk to you, say hello, see what's going on, talk about the weather, the lottery, what's on the news. And then we got some guys that they don't even know how to make eye contact. Are these the proverbial people that are stuck behind the scenes all the time?
People like that guy show up retired, sold the business. They know something.
Yeah, they know how business is. how it's to be run, whether you're selling donuts or building cars, right?
I've met a few people like that this year. I got a client that does that. He works at O'Reilly's, you know, and he has a home here in St. Clair Shores. And then, you know, it's like I went and I talked to him a couple times at O'Reilly's, and I realized like he doesn't need to work here. He does it because there's benefit to working.
Right.
Like there's no benefit to stopping everything. You need a purpose. Like you need to do something.
Right. You got to have a place to hang your hat. It keeps everything moving, keeps your brain going.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think guys like that essentially could retire, but choose to work and do something. You know, even though it might be something simple or it might be something that's not a high level, whatever.
Right.
It's not the highest paying. They know that it's healthier to keep working.
That's what I'm coming down to. I mean, I'm not there yet, but I'm getting close. Tomorrow's November 3rd, and you know, in 14 months I'll be 62. I could retire and start collecting Social Security and play with my IRA. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I might slim my hours down a little bit to about 30, but I'm going to keep working because, in essence, it's going to keep me moving and going. You know, when you get to be in my age, once you get into your 60s, most places don't really look at you. They're not going to look at you for long-term longevity. None, they can't. Right. They can't. Most people are going to be done by 65, 66 at the best. So how much do I have to offer you? Well, I might be able to give you another 4 or 5 years. God willing that my health is good, and it is right now, where I can stand for 8 hours a day and pump parts into a machine and make quality parts for you and come to work every day and not give you no grief. Well, they're going to say, where's the contract? You know.
Right.
A couple of times, one of the owners has mentioned to me he wish he had 10 guys like me. For the life of me, when I first heard that, I said, why would you want to have a bunch of old guys like me? But you know what? They've already learned how to work in the workforce, and if they survived 1975, I'm going to be 45 years of working in the workforce. That's just the way, like you're talking about employees. It's hard to keep good employees. We're at the point right now in Inline 2, and I won't mention any names. My manager, great guy, he's trying to, they hired 2 new people this month, and so far they're still there, and they're parts runners like I am. He's looking, you know, he's got a guy he wants to eliminate, and he just isn't getting enough people in that he can teach well enough to do the job.
Right.
All I got to say is I know that guy is going to be gone as soon as we get enough muscle to get rid of him, because
you guys are under pressure to build these parts.
Right. Production is a funny thing, but I'm lucky. I should say I'm blessed. I'm at the end of my career, and I don't make it sound like I got to put it. I'm at the end of my work career. Anybody who says you're not is not doing the math. I mean, I'm almost 61. I would only like to work a couple of more years, maybe 3 more years. I don't know.
Start eating that wild salmon, you'll be able to work another 15 years.
I don't want to work 15 more years, though, so I want to relax a little bit too. But I want to do something. But you know, I go in where I don't need this job kind of thing anymore, and that's how I got hired there. But I do what I'm supposed to do and get it done, and that's the bottom line. Like you said, when you're looking for employees, it's tough, you know.
It is.
It's tough. So they look at a guy like me, but we're not going to have him that long. You know, he can't be with us 10 more years, most of them. You know.
I think when you're looking for an employee, you see a guy who's 60. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people think that, you know, because he's 60, it's going to be hard for him to learn something new. And because of that, he might be too old, like you say, standing for 8 hours. He might not be able to do that. You know, people have those fears. Like, I don't know if I could hire someone 60 to cut lawns in the heat. And, you know, all the...
Again, age is a big factor. I'm not trying to make it a negative factor at all. But in the back of my mind, I use my noodle. Like, okay, Tony, you're a couple months from 61. And to me, it won't take nothing to be 65. That's 4 years. I mean, you and Donna have been married 3 years into this month. So time goes by very fast. So for me, I'm sure they would accommodate me, and I could work. You know, you're only allowed to make X amount of dollars when you take Social Security. So I'm going to try to hold off on my Social Security for a couple of years. But I know I could get a job working there 30 hours a week. It's already been stated 2 or 3 times this year. And that would be good enough for me. That gives me a reason to get up in the morning. Maybe I'll work just 8 to 3, 5 days a week, or 4 days a week. You know,
right.
I would like to have don't work Fridays no more.
Right.
So you take 8 away from 40, that's 32. You know what? And I'm going to be, let's say, 62, 63 or something. That's good enough. I can collect some Social Security, and I can work there too, and still make a good living, and still have, but you're right. When you look at a 60-year-old, and I'm not just using that number, I am that number. You're right.
Have you ever seen a young guy learn something? He can pick up on stuff because his brain, I don't know, something about the brain. When someone's older, they're more rigid. Like their thinking can be more rigid.
Right.
And they could not absorb. Whereas like a young guy, say a kid who's 16, 17,
right,
showing him how to run a lawnmower or a trimmer or whatever, he's like, his brain is almost like more.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
it's able to absorb quicker, pick up things. It takes me longer. I won't disappoint you, but now they got me at a point where they count on me, and my work is very good, and I can stand there and do it, and I can pump out the parts like nobody's business, so I can do the job. But I've not taken on anything else. I just am a parts runner. I fire my machine up, I run the parts, I make them. I don't do any final bends. I don't do any shipping. I do shipping bends. That's all I do. I'm not going to learn anything more. The owners know that, and my manager knows that, and he's tickled pink with it because it's more than enough. You know, I'm operating a machine. I'm doing my job, but
you can get more proficient at one thing than you can at everything. So
right, and there's where your line is about learning. Well, you know, they always are going to need somebody to run the parts through the machine. Eventually, there's always going to be a guy that's going to need to do finals. But finals can get slimmed down due to technology and the programming of the machines, where the machine's able to achieve more of the final end of a tube, and you might not need as much. But you're right. It's tough with employees. Finding good employees is very tough. Whether you're in the
it's hard, and it's hard to fire too. It sucks because I've like trained guys,
and it only took all that time for you to have to get rid of them.
And like you said, you can't force behavior.
Right.
You can teach them something.
Man, I'm gonna have to use that as one of my other classics. The first one is, new only means it was made yesterday.
Yeah.
And so you can teach people a job, but you can't teach them a personality.
Right.
And personality is something that you're born with. I think it comes along with it, and you're able to talk. I've had all the years of being in the retail that I've gotten that.
Yeah.
And and I know there's guys in our place, they can't really talk to anybody, and that's okay too, because if you are, and from your years of experience, you're in a factory situation, the machines don't talk back to you. Right. You control them, so
yeah, you don't have to know how to talk.
I had a very drastic change from the retail and customer service going to that, because so some days, there's a lot of times I miss talking to people. I've been told I like to talk, which is good, but but I like this solitude of getting things done. I'm in control of how much I do, whereas I don't have to depend on somebody else. And in service business, you're depending on the customer's cooperation, the parts department's cooperation, the technician / mechanic's cooperation. And it all falls down on the guy who first said hello, which is you, the service writer.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of. I remember a good
Speaking
friend.
of which, my visor is broken.
Oh, jeez.
From Ford Service.
They broke it?
Yeah.
How did they do that?
Do some tracks.
Oh, did the part come in yet?
They're gonna order it. It's no big deal.
What was this thing doing? Not lining up right, or not?
It wasn't.
Opening?
It was making noise, and then it got stuck open, so I forced it closed.
That's the worst thing in the world, huh?
Yeah.
It's stuck open.
Yeah. But yeah, I had this experience with an employee where I trained him like a drill sergeant. It was so bad. Like at first, it's kind of a lesson I learned. At first, he was like not working really, and I went out with him, and then like I was doing so much work, and at the end of the day, I kind of looked at myself, and I'm dirty, I'm covered in grass. I kind of looked at him and like, you're still clean.
That's what's wrong with this picture. If you're doing the same work I'm doing,
and because when you're out there working, you can't really pay attention as well to everything.
Right, you're trying to do the job.
And I had to call it out and let him know, like, I'm not dumb. I know you're milking this. And I forced him to learn the job. I forced it. I tricked him to learn it. He didn't want to do it, but I tricked him in so many ways, like psychologically, to learn the job. You have to do it. I made it like a competition. I don't know what, whatever, to make it, fun for him, and I got him to do it. But the problem is, he never stopped being like a bad kid. He's swearing.
Again, yeah, that line is a classic, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't teach him.
How am I going to teach him to stop?
Corvette.
Oh, yeah, I've been seeing that.
Ontario Orange is what that color is called.
How can I teach him to stop, using the N-word, stuff like that? I could be around a client, he's dropping the N-word.
Man, dude, you got to go. You're giving my place a bad image.
Yeah.
Especially, you're not even a good producer. I'm going to have to let you go.
Yeah. Well, I got him to be a really good producer. But the problem is, he became a good producer, but then not a good person.
Yeah.
So what happened, the last straw was, he stole his mom's car and disappeared for like the weekend. And he told his parents that I was the last person that he was with. And his parents called me, and they're wondering what happened to him and what I did with him and all this stuff. And I'm like, I didn't do anything with him. He's like 18 years old or 17. And at that point, I was like, I don't know. I'm gonna let you go. You're dragging me down. You're dragging me into these. You stole a car. You disappeared in the middle of Detroit. Like, what are you doing?
I remember when that happened.
And it was stupid because on my clock, when you clock in, it tells me where you are. And he would stay clocked in and be in these rough areas. And I told him, like, when his sister called me, I told her, I don't know, call the police. And when they called the police and he finally turned up, and then the police started looking for him. So he miraculously turned up, and she said, police is looking for you. He told me that I was a snitch and he don't like police. And I was like, you know what, that's it, man. Jeez. I invested so much into you. Time. It cost me money. Like, probably 3 weeks of pay it cost me to train you.
Yeah, they cost money. Yeah.
And I can't do this. Like, it's too much. And it was like, I hate police. And I told him, I said, why do you hate police? Because they locked my daddy up. And I'm like, dude.
Must have been a damn reason.
I'm like, dude.
Like, you just can't lock anybody up.
Yeah, like, I tried to explain it, but he wasn't getting it. It's like, I'm never going to be able to explain this to this person. Like, this is stupid. Just need to go. Maybe he'll get better somewhere else or through some other life lesson. But then he learned a skill now that he can go out and, he's working at some other companies now. Great. I taught him how to do something so he could go somewhere else. But it's just hard. Like, that's when it comes to hiring, the lesson I learned is you have to pick that personality first. These other things.
See, unrehearsed, yeah. The other things, you can teach them the job, but you can't teach them. Man, that line of Murray Feldman, we ought to write into him on Fox 2. That is so true.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people, they experience. This one person at Inline, the guy's terrible, man. He's ready to go to break. He goes to break before the buzzer rings. He's always he takes a double bathroom break. On average, he sucks up an extra hour a day, and that's wrong. And he's got no personality, doesn't talk to nobody, headphones on all the time, doesn't wear an Inline tube shirt. I mean, head down all the time. Like, dude, you're gonna. Hopefully they're going to find a replacement real quick and get you out of there, because it's kind of like a cancer, you got to cut it out. Yeah. It's like, man, you know what? You are in it,
Is he late for work?
He barely is there by, the bell. You get the 2 buzzers at 5 to 8 and then 8 o'clock. But it's just like, you wouldn't want him doing anything for you,
That's a cancer, because when he starts taking advantage of the system,
and he is, and
slowly
if our time clock is off a little bit, the buzzer is off, he still walks out the door before technically 5 o'clock. Many times, me and a couple other guys will still be, just getting ready to shut the machines down because we know it's 5 now. He's out the door in his car already, and nobody's saying anything to this guy. And I am not an employer. I'm not a manager anymore of anybody. And it still bothers me because it's wrong for the owners.
Yeah.
And they deserve better. And especially these guys, they're decent people, family people, but they know. I know they know who their people are. They don't. I remember him, one of the owners also saying a couple years ago, "Hey Tony, you know what? I don't even address most people that work because they're not here long enough for me to want to and even become friends with, or
Right, yeah.
you know. And so the fact that I get an occasional "Hey Tony, how's it going?" is a big deal, even though it's not. And it's still sincere. They know me because they know I do good for them, and I'm not bragging about myself because I don't do anything that I don't expect anybody else to do. It's not like, "Hey Tony, well you do everything." I don't got the keys to the place. I don't shut an alarm off. I don't turn any power on. I come in, I say good morning to whoever I greet, I punch in, and I start working. Is this at Randy Wise?
No.
Oh, I've heard of this place before. But anyway, it's the same thing. You're right. It carries through every business. It carries through. My dad used to go through in the restaurant business with bartenders and stuff. It's just it's hard. You know, you think you're hiring somebody and it's good, and
you have to almost hire them with an intention of firing them.
yeah,
Because
if it doesn't work out,
but yeah, it's like, you know, like that person could be a cancer, and then they set it up to where once they start getting away with this, it messes everybody else up.
yeah, you're right. It is, and you don't appreciate it until you're in your position where you're running a company, you own a company. You know, look at my brother, what he's gone through over the past 25 years. I mean, if you have a really good employee, or an excellent employee, I should say, you really gotta want to keep. Not only glad you can keep them, but glad that they are what they are.
Yeah.
As you get, again, we're using that line. You can't teach somebody a personality. Somebody's either that's what they are and it is what it is, or you know,
They have to want. I mean, anybody can change.
mm-hmm.
You know, and honestly, the truth is, you can do it. You can teach anybody anything. You can teach personality, but the issue is there's just not enough time to do that for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Right.
they don't have time to turn you into a good person. Like, that's not gonna happen. It could take years to do that.
Marsh Auto Sales.
Yeah. It could take years to do that, you know? And it's like,
And it might not ever
it
happen.
might not ever happen.
Right. Marsh Auto Sales. You ever notice how these places are not welcoming to park? This is the second one we pulled. Like, there's not a lot of customer parking.
Well, I can just park anywhere.
I would imagine you could, yeah.
I'm just gonna park it here by this pole.
Hopefully they don't try to sell it.
Try to sell what? Oh, this? Oh,
Just
man.
I'm kidding.
They tried to buy the Super Duty. They're like, that's a nice truck. How'd you get it?
This is what the world's come to. It's changed a lot since 1975. Everything here is a truck.
Everything here is a truck. Not every lot's like that, though, but
Well, there's a huge market for it. I don't have to tell you. You know that. Especially anytime you get up a little up north-ish.
if you want a car, it's way easier to get a car. And if you got $3,000, $4,000, you can get a car. You can get a nice car, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you want a truck and you got $3,000, you ain't getting much.
No.
And that's what I'm getting, not much. And if I want something nice, I mean, what am I gonna spend? That Ram is nice. How much is that Ram? That would be a nice truck.
A little tilted bumper action, yeah. That's got that's a crew cab.
Yeah, that'd be a good work truck, something like that. But that's gonna cost you $15,000.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not bad.
No, but it's a lot of money
It's a
when
lot
you're
of money.
adding on to a business that's just starting to move a little bit.
Yeah.
It's huge. That's
So this is, for me, this is something new. I'm trying to make as much as I can with as little down as I can. That one there is pretty rusty, but I think it's like $1,000 more.
where's the truck that you're looking at?
I don't know. Probably buried somewhere.
Are you dealing with a salesperson? Or?
Yeah. But anyway, what I did is I brought a screwdriver in this tarp. So before I sign off on it, I just want to poke around the frame to make sure like it doesn't like crumple apart. So I'm just gonna poke around the frame with this before I actually sign off on it. Because if an engine blew on this car or whatever, if I wanted to, I could put an engine in it or something.
But if the frame's toasty and weak,
I can't do anything with that vehicle.
like that truck right there, I already know from my Chevy years, that's the year before the big changeover. So that's the newest that could be is an 04 or 05.
Yeah,
That's 2020s are out. That's 15 years old.
and it's still on the road.
In 1975, when I got my driver's license, I did not run into a 1916.
Those Chevys too, they hold value better than the 150s. because they got that pushrod V8 with the Vortec. That engine is a very solid engine.
Oh, it's old school, man. 350. It's hard to ruin a small block Chevrolet.
Yeah.
You got to drain the oil out of it and start it, and then you can ruin it. That's what you basically have to do to it.
They just, I mean, they have less components than like the Fords. This Ford's cheap because it is got that engine. That's not that.
Man, I'd love to see in that one, son. That looks like.
We can look in it.
How much? It's a Z71, so it's a 4-wheel drive.
Now, keep in mind what they're doing with these trucks. They see that black bar on the bottom.
Yeah.
That was a rusty vehicle that they bedlined the bottom few inches. And if you look around, that's what they do here.
Because that's the weak point are the rockers, and they start.
And they look like junk, so they bedline it. So when you look at it, you're like, oh, that looks nice. It's rusty, and it's covered up with bedliner. It's gonna fall apart.
How do they fasten that to the weak metal, though?
They just do it.
They glue it, or they can't shoot a rivet through it, or I mean.
It's just paint, so they just paint it on top of it. So that's how mine is.
Sooner or later,
It's gonna fall.
The only difference between when I was a kid and today is the cars rusted out within 3 to 5 years. Now they rust out in about 15.
Well, a few years ago, they made all the brake lines and everything government mandated they have to be at least vinyl coated and they can't corrode. And I think most manufacturers do at least a vinyl coating. It's gonna be interesting to see like a finish what an inline tube's gonna do, but it's gonna take a long time for all that to kind of fall into place.
Convert
it's
over.
gonna take 20 years.
Well, you get the option now. I mean, the OE stuff is the zinc coated one, and then you got the option of stainless, which will last. You know, we offer the stainless lines too for every application, just about too.
Yeah. Well, the OEM now have to be vinyl coated at least. Any new car you look under, you're not gonna see a metal line. It's gonna look like it's
Part
coated.
of the car, right? It's
Yeah.
coated like undercoating.
Yeah.
Kind of an
Well, it's
undercoat.
vinyl now. It's like not even undercoating. Vinyl coating is even better than the undercoat. It's
Right.
wrapped up in vinyl.
Right. It won't peel off or.
Stainless would probably be the best, but it's not mandated to be stainless. I think. I don't know. Would stainless be better than vinyl coating? Probably, because then it can't rot from the inside. So maybe these brake lines, say these vehicles start lasting 20 years, and the vinyl coated lines rot from the inside out. I don't know if they will. Seems like most of the rot happens on the outside. But anyway, that's it for the podcast. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this truck goes good and
Yeah.
yeah. All right.